Hey lounger, welcome to another episode of Lounging with Lisa. Welcome back to the lounge, loungers. Before we get into today's conversation, let's take a breath together. This is Lounging with Lisa, the lounge where beauty, business, and balance blend. I'm Lisa, your soft life sister and your glow up accountability partner. And today we're talking about who you are becoming. If you've been feeling a quiet shift lately, not a breakdown, not a crisis, just a sense that you're no longer who you used to be, I want you to know you're exactly where you're supposed to be. This episode is for the woman who's not broken, not lost, but evolving. The woman who feels a shift in her values, her desires, and her pace. Today isn't about fixing anything. It's about honoring the version of you that's emerging. This quiet identity is a shift. When we are in the stage of becoming, it doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it shows up as wanting different conversations, craving more peace than excitement, choosing rest without guilt, and no longer explaining yourself to anyone. And I know at times that can feel confusing, but growth doesn't always come with a clear label. Sometimes at first we don't even recognize that we're in the process of growing. You may not know exactly who you're becoming yet, but you know who you're not anymore. For a long time, I'm sure many of us, including myself, identified as the strong one, the fixer, the dependable one, the hustler, the one who figures it all out. Those identities served us. They protected us and they got us where we are today. But they do not have to define your future. You're allowed to be soft and capable, calm and ambitious, rested and successful. And I want you to know that doesn't make you cold. It means you're no longer available for connections that require you to abandon who you are. You can no longer abandon yourself. You're becoming someone new. And the first place you truly start to notice is usually in your relationships. Not because anything is wrong, but because you're no longer operating from the same place. You start to notice that connections you once tolerated now feel draining. The dynamic you once accepted now feels misaligned. You don't need as much explaining. You don't crave intensity the way you used to. You begin valuing peace over chemistry, safety over sparks, and depth over drama. And this can feel uncomfortable because becoming often creates distance before it creates alignment. I know you're asking yourself, why does becoming often create distance first? And the answer is, becoming often creates distance before it creates alignment because you have to stop meeting people where you no longer live. And let me explain what I mean by that. Number one, you change internally before the world catches up. Because becoming starts quietly. Your values shift. Your tolerance changes. And your nervous system wants different things. But people, routines, and environments around you are still interacting with the old version of you. That mismatch often creates distance. Not because something is wrong, but because alignment hasn't caught up yet. The second reason is you stop over-explaining, and that feels like withdrawal. As you become more grounded, you explain less to people. You justify less. You react less, and you perform less. And to people who are used to your emotional labor, that calm can feel like distance, coldness, that you are disinterested in them. But in reality, it's just self-regulation. You're not pulling away, you're pulling inward. Number 3, becoming removes urgency. When you're evolving, urgency fades. You don't rush giving responses. You don't chase validation. You don't fix what isn't yours. And urgency is what many relationships are built on. So when urgency leaves, the connection either deepens naturally or loosens quietly. That's the distance. You stop meeting people where you no longer live. Alignment requires space so it can arrive. Alignment doesn't rush in, it needs room. And distance helps to create clarity, recalibration, and truth. Without space, alignment can't form, so it just gets forced. Distance is the pause where everything gets reorganized. I know you're asking, Lisa, what does alignment look like after distance? So let me tell you. After distance, the right conversations feel easy. The right people feel calm around you. The right work feels supportive. The right pace feels natural. There's no forcing, no explaining, no proving. Alignment doesn't demand effort. It meets you where you are. And I want you to understand how important the reframe is. Because distance is not a loss. Distance is not failure. Distance is not you doing something wrong. Distance is integration. It's the space between who you were and who you are becoming. And that space is sacred. When you're becoming someone new, relationships can feel different. Not because anyone did something wrong, but because your needs have changed. You start wanting depth over drama, consistency over chemistry, and safety over intensity. And that's growth, not loss. Becoming in career and business also changes how you approach work. You stop chasing what looks impressive and start choosing what feels aligned with you. You begin asking, does this support my life? Does this give me room to breathe? Does this reflect who I am now? Success stops being about proving and starts being about sustainability. Becoming in career and business also changes how you approach work. You stop chasing what looks impressive and start choosing what feels aligned with you. You begin asking, Does this support my life? Does this give me room to breathe? Does this reflect who I am now? One of the most powerful moments in becoming is when you give yourself permission. I'm going to share with you one of the things that I give myself permission. I give myself permission to reset without guilt. I take a nap every day, even on weekends. I give myself time to not be a mom at that time that I'm resting. Not to answer to anyone, and just indulge in my own personal self-care for those hours. And it feels great. Permission is quiet. It doesn't announce itself, but it changes everything. Like right now, so many of you are waiting for permission. Permission to rest. Permission to slow down. Permission to change your mind. And permission to want something different. Even for permission to choose yourself. We wait for validation, for approval, for things to make sense to others. But permission doesn't come from the outside. It comes from you. Let me tell you what happens when you give yourself permission. When you give yourself permission, your body relaxes. You breathe deeper. You stop forcing, and you stop performing. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't need to understand. And that's when your power returns. Permission in real life looks like leaving earlier, saying no without guilt, resting without earning it, choosing peace without apology. Permission is quiet. It doesn't announce itself, but it changes everything. Like right now, so many of you are waiting for permission. Permission to rest. Permission to slow down. Permission to change your mind. And permission to want something different. Even for permission to choose yourself. We wait for validation, for approval, for things to make sense to others.
Streets is on the line, I'm getting hyped. They know when they see me, it's a real wave. Shorty tryna ride it like bike. If she says she ready, take a bite. Tryna watch her while I take a hike. They know what it is, they know I don't play. If you finna do it right, bitch. I might have to pop out for
Permission doesn't come from the outside. It comes from you. Let me tell you what happens when you give yourself permission. When you give yourself permission, your body relaxes. You breathe deeper. You stop forcing, and you stop performing. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't need to understand. And that's when your power returns. Permission in real life looks like leaving earlier, saying no without guilt, resting without earning it, choosing peace without apology. Permission looks like letting go of who you had to be so you can become who you are. And I want you to know the power of self-permission is not selfish. Self-permission is not selfish. It's self-respect. It's how you protect your energy. It's how you create alignment and how you build a life that feels like home. The more permission you give yourself, the more grounded you become. Giving yourself permission is one of the quietest and most powerful shifts you will ever make. Because permission isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself, and it doesn't come with applause. But the moment you give it to yourself, your life begins to change. So many of us are waiting for someone to tell us it's okay. It's okay to rest, okay to slow down, okay to change our minds, and okay to want something different. We wait for validation, for approval, for things to make sense to everyone else. But here's the truth. The people you're waiting on benefit from you staying exactly where you are. What permission really is an internal decision. It's you saying, I trust myself. I'm allowed to listen to my body. I don't need to suffer to be worthy. Permission is not quitting. It's choosing. When you give yourself permission, your nervous system relaxes. Your shoulders drop, your breath deepens, and you stop bracing. You stop forcing yourself to keep up with lives that were never meant for you. Permission in real life looks like leaving early without guilt. Saying no without over-explaining. Resting without earning it. Changing direction without apology. It looks like choosing peace even when it disappoints people. Ooh, the power it unlocks when you give yourself permission. You reclaim your power, because power isn't control. Power is alignment. The ability to say no, this no longer works for me, and trust yourself enough to act on it. Permission changes your relationships. When you live with self-permission, your relationships change. And it's not because you become distant, but because you become clear. You stop negotiating your needs. You stop explaining your boundaries, and you stop abandoning yourself because you want a connection. Permission in work and business looks like redefining your success, choosing sustainability over speed, and building a life your work fits into. You stop chasing what looks impressive and start choosing what feels aligned. And the hard part, the truth, the hardest part about giving yourself permission is not everyone is going to understand it. Some people will be uncomfortable. Some will question you. Some will try to pull you back into who you used to be. Before we wrap up today, let's take one last sip together. Because becoming doesn't require you to rush. And that doesn't mean you're wrong. The deep truth is you don't need permission from the world to live a life that feels good to you. You only need it from yourself. Giving yourself permission isn't selfish. It's self-respect. And it's the beginning of a life that actually feels like yours. You don't need to rush becoming. You don't need to explain it to anyone. You don't need to justify it. You just need to allow it. And that is where your power lives. You're not behind. You're not late. You are becoming. And it's okay. You're becoming something better. And that version of you that's emerging deserves space, grace, and patience. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need permission from anyone to want a life that feels calmer, softer, and more aligned. Wherever you are in your journey, whether you're just starting to feel the shift or you've already stepped into who you're becoming, you are exactly where you need to be. Let yourself move at your own pace. Let yourself change your mind. Let yourself choose peace without guilt. This is your reminder that softness is not a weakness, it's wisdom. Thank you for lounging with me today. If this episode spoke to you, take it with you, sit with it, and let it settle. I'll meet you back here next time. Until then, take care of yourself, lounger, and remember, you don't have to earn peace because you deserve it. Until next time, stay glowing, stay growing, and stay grounded. I'll see you in the lounge.